Yep. So a couple more questions here. I guess this is where the rubber meets the road, before we wrap up. Biggest win. So you made a decision that was like hey, this was a super good decision, looking back on it. So what was the biggest win in your decision to grow your company? And then conversely, like, oh, what was a decision you made like you wish you could take back, that maybe was the biggest regret or mistake?
Sure. So the biggest win is the Paul Winans that I was mentioning that we consulted with. Him slowly getting us up to a 50% markup. We are actually right now at a 56.9% markup. So that is by far the biggest win. The biggest loss or maybe even failure, I think, is probably growing a little bit faster than we probably should have, starting in 2020, 2021. And then when the pandemic hit, not reacting as quickly as we should have to all of these outside variables that were impacting our business. We did finally get around to fixing some of the issues, and some of the things we've incorporated new policies that are going to be permanent, so that when and if these shortages ever go away, those policies will still stay in place, so that better protects us, and honestly better protects our clients as well. Mm-hmm. And then if we ever find ourselves in either this type of situation or something similar, next time around we should be much better prepared.
So this is like an unforeseen circumstances as it relates to supply chain or labor shortage, something like that. Yeah.
All of it. Yep.
Yeah. That's an important point you make too. First thing I was just going to point out is that you say, oh, my markup's 56.9%. It's like, okay, everyone who's listening to this, take note, know your numbers, right? You got to know your numbers. And are you making money? No, you're not making enough money, I think is what you're saying. And number two, the worst case scenario you want to be in is where you're midway through a project and all of a sudden something comes back and your client is not expecting this huge markup, and now you got to go take the bad news to them. And where are they going to get the cash if they're trying to pay cash for it, or if they're financing, if they're they've already got an appraisal done. That's a huge problem for you and them. And of course that puts a tremendous stress on the relationship, where now you're backpedaling, trying to put out the fire, and now you've got $1 million project, which you potentially have just created somebody who's not only going to not refer you, but maybe it's not going to speak poorly of you because of what happened.